Welcome to City League Sports, the show where we chop it up and share stories about all things Columbus City League athletics. Today we have a very unique show, everybody, and with some really special guests. While they may have been athletes at some point, today they are filmmakers. We have Gary Tate here with us and Mike Gravely of the documentary The Haven, right? The story of the 2004 Brookhaven State Football Championship team. And we got the former starting quarterback of that team, Mr. Mike McGee. We're going to start here first with you. G. Tate, say hello to everybody.
What's up, everybody? What's up, Columbus? 614 in the house.
There you go.
Hey, what's up, Columbus? Glad to be here. Appreciate you having me.
There we go. Is it okay if I call you McGee for the remainder of the show?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
There you go. So say hello to everybody, Mike, and tell everybody where you're at right now.
How's everybody doing, man? Hello, Columbus. How you doing? Miss everybody there. I'm in Toledo right now. I coach at Toledo Whitmer High School. So, yeah, just continuing the tradition of coaching.
Beautiful. For those that I didn't say it, I'm your host, Dr. Vince Clarno. We're going to get into some fun stories here today. And what's interesting is for our repeat listeners, those that have been around, Columbus, Brookhaven as a school has enough stories. We could just have Brookhaven guests on the show week after week after week, right? For quite a long time. And there is a special place of the athletic, prowess and achievements that the school put out, right? And so today, you all sit here as filmmakers, right? So you're the first. We ain't had filmmakers on the show yet, right? You all are the first in that respect. So I'm going to turn to you first, Mike Gravely here. Share with us, what's the inspiration? How do we arrive here? The Haven, a movie, documentaries, football. Come on, give everybody some thoughts on how we all end up here.
For me, man, I'm not even from Columbus, right? So I moved here in '98. So I know nothing about Brookhaven when I moved here in '98. But I met my brother here, Gary Tate. He was helping train some of the young men who was coming up in the inner city league with from Independence, and a lot of them went to Brookhaven High School. So connecting with him, learning about the Haven winning state football championships in basketball, track. They were good in baseball, and just learning a lot about the history of the school, and then these young men and their story and following them. And so I, much respect to Gary Tate for introducing me to what is the Haven.
Yes, indeed. And I'll step back and apologize because I know of you. So I said G Tate, but for all of our listeners, Gary Tate is in the house with us here today. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you all what's the inspiration of how you all end up turning this into a documentary and a film? How do you all end up there?
I guess background on me real quick. I'm from the east side of Columbus.
Okay.
Graduate of West High School in '97. We went to Otterbein College. Me and Mike are both members of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, so that's where our relationship comes from.
Okay.
So, like I said, DJ was the first one I started to train from the team. Met him over at Lula Pearl Rec Center.
Yeah.
And never thought it would lead to this.
Right.
And I didn't want to train no kids. I was just lifting one day, and he asked me about weightlifting. I'm like, well, shoot.
Yeah.
If you want to lift, we can lift together.
Certainly.
Didn't hear from me for months. Then run to his mom at a Mifflin basketball game, and she I pointed at my dad. I said, that's that little DJ dude I seen at the center.
Okay.
And she said, you really gonna train my baby? I said, well, I ain't heard from him yet, so when he get done, let me know.
Right.
After basketball season was over, he called me, and it shot off from there. But to go to the reason is like you asked about why we want to do the documentary. Our story's never been told before.
Okay.
The inner city football story's never been told. The program was about college football. Friday Night Lights was about a small town. Varsity Blues is about a small town. Remember the Titans is about segregation, but I felt like the inner city football story was never told.
Nice, okay.
And Brookhaven just happened to be the best main character I could think of using for Columbus City League.
Yes,
but
indeed.
Everybody, if you watch the documentary, I don't care if you went to West, Briggs, Linden, Centennial.
Walnut Ridge.
Yep. My cousins graduated from Ridge, so I got love for my brother graduated from Ridge, so I got love for that.
Yeah.
But we could all see ourselves in those stories.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the inspiration came. I can tell stories, but I needed my partner who was good with the computer aspect and the filming and all those things to put it together.
To bring it to life. Mm-hmm. Okay, so McGee, we're going to jump to you for a minute, and we're going to get right into the football of it. Before we get to the filming of it, McGee, here you are, as a sophomore, you finished the season as a starter at the quarterback position. You come in your junior year, there's a lot going on. Just kind of reach back into your vault of memories and tell me what's going on in a Mike McGee's head, 16 years old, fresh with some driver's license, right, or something like that. And here you are all summer long, and you're getting ready and prepared for what ultimately ends up being a state championship run. So give us some of those memories for your life and what was going on with the team.
Yeah, so I kind of heard you guys talking about it briefly, but my sophomore year, I didn't start right away. It was a situation where I missed some days of camp, and Coach Thornton, he's a guy who really instilled a lot in me when it comes to the quarterback play and just being a player in general. It wasn't going to be given. I came in Beechcroft, one of our biggest rival. Came in and, was starting from there from my sophomore season. So I got to experience the Trenton Edgewood loss. So I was really a part of, regaining that, in that summer of getting back to it. So that next year, we were all about respect. And that's one thing that I always look back on. And I judge every team that I'm a part of now on that team. And I can tell if we're going to be good, if we're what we need and what we have, because that team had everything. It was just a great experience, man. I love, especially watching the documentary. It brought back a lot of memories. G Tate and Mike, they did an A+ job.
Phenomenal job on it.
Yeah,
right? Phenomenal
capturing
job.
everything, capturing all the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things, I know we'll get into it later, but it hit home for me was that Pickering and Central game. That was a great segment of the film.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I had a bunch of guys around me. I know my job was to get the ball into our best players' hands.
Certainly. But that's the job of every good quarterback, though, is to get the ball into the hands of the playmakers. You know what I mean? Every good quarterback does that at every level.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't have to, do too much. Coach Thornton and those guys, they always told me, you don't have to do too much. Just follow the system, follow the plan. And I did that. And, but as a team, man, it was a great season, man. And it's always good to look back on that stuff.
Yeah. What's beautiful about the film now, so now we're going to it. And the film is named The Haven, right? Which I think is appropriately for it, right? Because for those that are from Central Ohio, and now for all those listeners and viewers that tune into our show, really, we're getting to a point where people are watching us from all over the country, right? So people don't know, but Brookhaven, right, was the name of the school. And then somewhere along the line, the athletic achievements became the Haven, right? And everywhere you went, you would see the athletes and hear the kids. And they had a high level of pride for what they were doing. Mike Gravely, I'm going to turn to you. We're not going to be able to name everyone, right? Because the documentary is that intensive. It highlights so many special people. But you had some real heavy hitters on the film, right? I'm going to start, though, before we get into the heavy hitters, right? I'm going to start with what I thought was really special. You went and found a woman who was a teacher, and you listed her as like the football mom. What was her name? Let's give her a little bit of shout out, because I thought that was so beautiful, being a former teacher myself and knowing the importance of having somebody who's not the coach, somebody who's not the principal, who can be, but just another person attached to the building, showing love to young people. Share her name. Tell me how you found her, and how does she become a part of the story?
Yeah, Georgia Hauser played an intricate role within that team and within helping us gather a lot of the ex-players, some of the coaches, connecting us with Coach Blake. Georgia Hauser was the glue that kind of held that team, and both athletically and academically, right? Because she was a teacher for, I think, 30-plus years,
McGee's
right?
head is shaking.
And so Georgia Hauser played an intricate role within, Brookhaven High School, just period. Right. Athletics and academics, like I said. Her and Coach Whiting were the glue of that school. Okay. They were the foundation. And till this day, anybody you run into, any alumni at Brookhaven that went to Brookhaven, everybody talks. Those are the names that come up. So we had to have her as a part of the film.
Nice.
Because those two people played an intricate role, in the process for all the student athletes.
What's beautiful about that is that there are so many individual people along every journey and every path, every story of success that sometimes maybe get overlooked. You all as filmmakers dug into the vault. Like I said, you brought out some nice people that really like the Miss Hausers, who's a teacher in the building, but she's not a coach. She's not this, but she helps gel these young people and help shape them into, to the successful individuals that they are today. So G Tate, you're around the time when the story is happening, right? And obviously, for those of us that have followed the show, DJ was on the show before. We got love for DJ on the show, and I'm extremely proud of all the things that young man is doing for the community and how he is outreaching and branching out and giving back. But he starts, like you said, with the conversation you all are having. So how do you get to the space of saying, hey, look, I'm comfortable with, because this is the community connection. This is it's bigger than the brick and mortar walls that we have as a school system. You're a community connection. So how do you get to that space individually where you're saying, I'm going to be willing to help train some young people and get them into this space where they can compete athletically?
I'm an educator though. So I've been in education for 21 years.
Okay.
So that was my first, when I met him, that was my first year teaching. So I'm an assistant principal down for the Cincinnati Public School District now. But with that,
Columbus City Schools. Are we listening? Columbus City Schools. Let's get this young man back up here to Columbus, Ohio.
I don't think my wife gonna have that, man.
Okay, I don't
think she's gonna have that.
Well, there we go. Okay, look, that says everything for a story like this. We get it. But okay, I'm sorry. So you're in Cincinnati right now, but you're an educator, and so share with me how you get to the point where you're giving back, though, because you weren't on the Brookhaven staff, though.
No, could care less about Brookhaven.
There you go.
Like when DJ told me, when he asked to train me, I was like the North Side. Not coming up north to pick no kid up from the North Side. And I found out he lived on Mount Vernon.
Okay.
So that's the East Side. So I'm like, okay, we might be able to do something there.
Right.
But it was just, I don't know how it happened. It just, God does stuff in a certain way
yes, indeed,
that you can't control. And that young man grabbed my heart, and then he brought a bunch of his buddies and teammates around, and that's what happened. I never had a G Tate in my life. So my dad trained me, and it's cool to have your dad train you, but to have a guy that's maybe 5 or 6 years older than you train you to sort of show you things is a little different.
That's right.
And honestly, they didn't notice, but they were also my stability.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wasn't doing those silly things because I knew I had to be accountable to them.
Right.
So a lot of things that average 23 or 24-year-old was doing at the time, I didn't do because I didn't want them to see that, because I needed to be a role model for them all the way around.
Hey, that's a beautiful connection, because that's part of my story, to be honest with you. I started off in school. Some people don't know this. I was a finance major. I was working Salesian Boys and Girls Club in the summer times, and I started meeting young people and said, man, you know what? My heart is an educator, my passion and all those things. And so Mike, I'm going to turn to you, McGee here. You share with us, man, as you were going through this journey, like look back into the season and share with us, like, was there any moments of adversary? Because from what it looks like, y'all just rolled on everybody, right? I mean, did y'all just roll week after week? Was it just the train got going and it never slowed down? Or were there some challenging moments that you remember as a player? I know some of this comes out in the film as well, but I'm curious to how you lived it. How, what memories you have from living it?
Yeah, every team goes through things, behind closed doors. But, one thing about our team was, we all had one goal in mind, and if there was something that was going on behind closed doors, we did not let it distract us when it came to the field, because of that goal. And of course, that beach crawl game was is always a tough game, but that was, man, out of my 4 years, I would say that was the toughest one. Was that game that season? It was real close. It went down to the end, but It was a normal situation where, our coaches did a great job of keeping us in line, but also our seniors and DJ and Alex, all them guys, held it down. And it wasn't a situation where, we were, it was 100% focus and respect. That was our goal that year. When it came to it.
Mike Gravely, I'm turning to you for a moment. Not being from here, right? And you shared that. So I'm a Columbus guy. G Tate's a Columbus guy. Mike's a Columbus guy, right? And so for me being on the outside, right, I can always look back and remember. You're not a Columbus guy?
I'm a Columbus guy. Doc, he real humble. So let me just chime in about him. This dude won a national championship at Canton McKinley. So he know about football.
Yeah.
So he ain't gonna say he
Yes,
real
he did.
humble.
So he's smiling over here, and he's not showing his card.
He won a national
basically,
championship.
so basically, for all my listeners right now, for those that can't see us, we got two situations. We got a radio listening group. We got the group that's tuning in like YouTube and Instagram and those things, right? So Mike Gravely, obviously, don't play cards with Mike because Mike ain't showing us anything. Got a little bit of smile going now, but here's where I was going with the story. Not even that you don't know about football, because I think to some degree we all kind of can get it and understand it, right? But not being from here, what did you learn about Brookhaven while the film was being made? In the process of making the film, what did you learn about Brookhaven?
No, that's a great question. A lot of it was the history, right? Because when I moved here in 1998, Brookhaven was at the cream of the crop in all athletics: football, basketball, baseball, track, wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you heard when you came down here for high school sports and athletics. Was you go to Brookhaven,
right?
If you want to, get to be elite and go to the next level. So when I moved here in '98, all the basketball games were always sold out. Gymnasiums are full.
Reputation was founded.
The reputation was founded, and I come from Camp McKinley, which has a great
reputation itself.
So a lot of the games I was going to, was at Columbus Brookhaven, and so the thing I learned about it was the history of it. Right, Brookhaven wasn't always good.
Certainly.
So in the '80s,
they struggled
before right around Anthony Thornton's time. Anthony Thornton tells some really good stories that shared a lot of the history. Like Brookhaven wasn't always the cream of the crop.
Right.
And so that's the biggest piece that I learned, and hopefully the viewers who watch the film will learn and take away from it.
Well, and that's a great segue, because something that was my takeaway from the film, and I appreciate you all, right? Like the story was so touching, but I spoke a few minutes ago about the heavy hitters. We can't talk about everybody, but I'm going to give a couple shout outs, and then I'm going to ask each of you to maybe just give a shout out as well to someone, right? And I'll take the easy one from me. I'm gonna give a shout out to our school superintendent, Dr. Dixon. And then all of us know Dr. Murphy, right? I'm giving a shout out to those two. They are educators. We have worked alongside each other. I've learned a lot from both of them and continue to do so to this day. And so it was nice to see them in the film and give their perspective. McGee, we're going to come to you, and then without even a transition to me, we're going to go straight to you, G. Tate. Mike, share with when you watch the film, share with me some shout outs to some people that you can kind of that jumps off at your head that you remember as being an important part of the story or just an important part of your own journey.
Yeah, I mean, you already mentioned her, Georgia Hauser. I think she's one of everybody's favorite, man. She was such an integral part when it came to not just football, but being that person that you could go to in school, and had a listening ear. If I needed to make my highlight tape, back when we were putting them on, it was like right at that time when you were putting on cassette tapes, or on the regular
the
tape
big box VHS. You walking around with this old tote bag of stuff, right?
We was moving the DVDs. Yep. Yeah. So I had to, so I was in her office making my DVD because her and Coach Blake shared an office. There. So just things like just people like that, and then just a shout out to all my teammates, man, because this thing, man, is it's probably still my favorite moment in my life, besides my kids and wife and things like that, but it's still one of the times I go back to, and I still got my ring. I still look at that thing, and then it's just a great moment that always lives on me. So just shout out to all my teammates, man, who were a part of and who weren't a part of.
For me, all the community members that were a part of it, because it really showed the village aspect of it.
Certainly.
What it took you, and then just to get the stories told from the outside perspective, people that weren't in the school.
Right.
You have your Miss Featherstone on there, Marcus Ray.
Yes,
it was fun having Marcus Ray, Naeem Sanders.
Marcus Ray, we want to get you on the show, man. Come on now, Marcus Ray.
I'll holler at bro for you.
Yeah, and I know Marcus. That's why I'm saying it that way. I know Marcus, man. So we're going to hunt him down and get him on the show.
And so having him on there, my teammate, big brother Andre Mock was on there for me.
Yes, indeed.
Naeem Sanders. Getting Steve Blackledge was a big deal. That was huge deal. Because Steve, he wrote all the articles during that time period. Yep. And even the guys that we couldn't get, you just couldn't interview everybody. That's right. Everybody wanted to interview, and some people's feelings might got hurt because they didn't get interviewed. But it was like, it's only so much you can do.
Certainly.
It's only so much you can do and so many people that you have, but everybody was a part of that team. This is their story.
Right.
So if we couldn't get you an interview, we got your highlights on there.
Yes, indeed.
We
Yes,
did some
indeed.
way to try to work you in there somewhere.
And
I got to shout out the coaches real quick too.
yeah,
Coach
go ahead.
Blake,
That's what
Coach
we were
Ayers.
Yeah.
For me, Coach Ayers was huge, man.
Yes,
He was a big part of it. That's why he's listed as associate producer. He had all the game film. He had all the footage, and he was able to help us with that, connect us with the Ohio High School Athletic Association. So Coach Ayers, Coach Kimbrough.
And that's actually right where we're going right now. Right?
Clodfelder,
We're going right into that transition of the film and the time. As you shared, you're naming them. You're naming A.T. Thornton, who I got a lot of love for, and A.T. Being a former Brookhaven, like you said, and kind of the one that starts a lot of this back in the 80s. Folks didn't know A.T. was in there in the 80s, right? A.T., he done found the fountain of youth. Every time I see him, he looks a little bit younger, right? So I need to know what water he drinks every day. But you got an A.T. Thornton, and then you got that next wave of guys. So the success continued to build and layer on top of each other, because then you bring in the Chuck Andrews, the Steve Ayers, the Dane Kimbroughs, the Travis, right? And these are all guys that are visible in and around Central Ohio right now, helping young people, allowing a part of their story and their realism to be touched by other kids. And then all of that trickles over into these young people in the early 2000s, where you talk about the Mike McGees and the DJ Jones and the Alex Daniels and all these individuals who come together to play this game. So as you all are making the film, right, and you're having these conversations with former players and coaches, like what goes through you as you're having those discussions and you're filming them? G, we'll start with you.
You start off with a script. So you got questions that you want to ask. But it's a story, it's an interview, so you let them take you where you want to take it to. Because the doc went so many places that we didn't think it was going to, because when we first started, but you start hearing these stories like, oh shoot, that's too good.
Too good to leave out. We got to go there.
I got now when I talk to him, I got to ask him about this situation because I want to see what his perspective was.
Certainly.
So you have all that going on with the story, and then we did it during the pandemic.
Yes, indeed.
And we did all the editing via Zooms.
Wow.
Because I wasn't coming up to Columbus all the time.
Right. Okay.
I mean, the first time we ever got together, I tell the story to everybody. We planned on it being a series. The first time we got to work together, we were at his house for 5 hours.
Nice.
Got 7 minutes done.
Hey, that's how filmmaking works.
And I said, you know what? Ain't no way. This thing we might get 30 minutes out of this thing, but it ain't gonna be no 3.5 hours like we think it's gonna be.
Right.
But just the progression and praying and just, whatever happened, we was able to get it to the finished product it is now. But that's my part of it when it comes to like the questions, the breaking it down, trying to make sure everybody's story connects with each other. All that goes in.
Yeah. When you're making a documentary, you find, like you said, that you go down these rabbit holes in these different places that lead you to different stories and different contexts. So McGee, I'm going to jump back to you for a moment. What taking away the championship game, give me another special moment during that season. It doesn't even necessarily have to be on the field. On the film, there's some discussion about the camp and those things. But you share with me, give everybody maybe a little trickle, an inclination of maybe something that took place that's a part of your memory that's special. You can't give me the championship game though, right? Because I know that's special. That's an easy one. Right. I want you to dig a little bit deeper for me. It could just be it could be a day in the lunchroom. Whatever you come up with, share with us something special that season.
I got a couple. So one of the things is, I can elaborate more on when we went to we went to a summer camp at Miami of Ohio. It was a 7-on-7 camp. We stayed the night at, it was like the first time a lot of us ever was in tents.
I still never been in a tent. My family and buddies like, come on, man, let's go camping. I said, well, we got to have a little hut or something for me to stay in.
For sure. Nah, but it was cool. We had, it was nice. And then, one of the things I remember is that, some of our guys was messing around and, how that goes. And, they had us out there running at like 3 or 4 in the morning because people was messing around.
Yes, indeed.
That's one thing. But then when we went to that 7-on-7 camp, I think that's when we gelled a lot because, we were competing against some really good teams, some programs we knew that we might see in the playoffs, but also some Division I programs. And I remember we were going against Kenton, and that was super, and that was a real intense game. But I feel like that 7-on-7 right there, that kind of helped us, I believe, gel a lot because, we got into it a little bit. But, if anybody knows our team and knows the talent and even the players that we had, we weren't taking a lot of mess from anybody.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be any of that.
Right.
That's how our team was.
Right.
But yeah, that moment right there. And then, one other thing was just in the locker room, when we found out about the Pickering and Central, switching sides and everything, in the locker room, we found that out and we kind of got that feeling of that game. I mean, it was quiet. Nobody was saying nothing. But it turned into a different intensity, I believe, for that game, and we didn't need much after that.
Right.
So just those moments in the locker room, those moments in the off season that people don't really hear about or care about,
Yep.
that really build the foundation of a certain season or a certain team.
Certainly.
And a lot of the guys that I played with, and a lot of I saw we had Coach Randy on there. Coach Randy's been one of my coaches, for a long time.
Right.
A lot of our guys on that team played on the Sharks together.
Yeah.
So we had already known each other. We had already played with each other. We already knew what made us tick and things like that. So that foundation was kind of set from that Mifflin Sharks organization too.
Nice. Well, and you shared something about gelling. And I'm going to combine this into something, G. Tate, you just shared about storytelling. And what you get from the film is that 2004, right, is like the catalyst of everything coming together. But you do a great job in sharing how really this is like a 20, 30-year like endeavor. It doesn't just all happen in 2004. It starts in 83 with a kid like A.T. Thornton, and then you throw in there and they share some stories about Coach Carter who helped establish a foundation. And shout out to Gary Carter. That's my little bit of Walnut Ridge love that I can sneak in here in our little bit of time, right? And so it builds up over a journey of time. It gives. Look, I'm not even a Haven guy, right? But I watched it. And I had a couple little goosebumps. I said, "Oh, okay." They was, and now at this space, I can enjoy young people having fun and being in their moment. But you all could you all feel it to coming together now as filmmakers? Y'all dive in, y'all share as filmmakers. Could you feel it start to coming together and go, "Ooh, we got something special here"? Was y'all able to realize that? We'll start with you, Mike.
Yeah, I think we were able to realize that after our second edit. What people don't realize, I think, is we edited this whole thing probably 3 times total. We went through and we had some people on our team that would review it, and some of the feedback we got was you guys need to switch some things around, make it more entertainment, take the stories within the stories to make it a complete story. And so I think the second time we went through and went back and edited, we could see it start to come together like piece by piece. Like Gary said, we started out with 7 minutes, then we went to 10, and we just continued to roll. So we started to see it, eventually down the road, just putting in the work and the time and then polishing it off at the end. Yeah.
I mean, and it's funny because the filmmaking, it begins with the two of you. The story, we know the story happened. We know what took place, but as you build it, you're almost like also building an athletic team, right? You're going through all of those things. And so my question that I think viewers would love to hear, and Gary, we'll turn to you. So who's the first person that you all contacted? Who's the first person that you took a camera and stuffed it in their face and started filming? Do you remember who that was?
That was Coach. It was Coach. And guess what? We didn't even keep the footage of their first interview. We had to re-interview them. So the first interview was, because it was the pandemic, wanted to be outside, wanted to make sure we could do social distance. So we actually interviewed Coach Ayers and Dr. Murphy on Brookhaven's field.
Together.
That was the first
nice,
interview.
Okay, so Doc Murphy and Coach Ayers. Nice, okay.
Jizzle, DJ was like, so we talked, knew that we was going to interview them, get with them later. But Coach Ayers and then Dr. Murphy was the first ones, and I remember them, they were shooting out names we didn't think about. And they was like, well, you got to call him, and you got to call him, or he going to be upset if you don't call him.
Yeah.
So that was the start. That was the first interview on the field. I think you hooked that up for us, too, to get the feel for you. We appreciate that.
Hey, you know what? I don't get any credit here today other than just being happy to say, hey, look, you know what? Let's organize. When it was shared with me, and I don't know what stage you all were at, I said, hey, look, I can remember back to 2004. I was teaching and working in the school system, obviously at the time, and I remember thinking like these dudes is making a run, right? And I was doing some basketball coaching at the time at Columbus Walnut Ridge, and we can do a whole story on Brookhaven basketball itself, right? And the guys that played, and DJ and Mike and all those guys that got it in. Shout out to Andrew Lavender. But you're building the film, and as the story expands and continues to grow, you get to this beautiful space because they're giving me kind of like the time check, right? And they're saying we got to start to wrap. I told you 30 minutes goes by very fast, right? We can almost maybe even do a part 2 one day. But before we transition out of here, either one of you, share with all of our listeners. You got to speak a little bit slow on this one. Where can they find the film? We want everybody and all of our listeners get online, log on, enjoy in this story. So this is an extension. This is a catalyst, an introduction to the Haven story. But tell us how we can find it.
So you go to www.canaanproductionsllc.com, and that's where you can find the doc. It's $19.99. Really, the cost of it is just trying to get it out more.
Yeah.
Because everybody, can y'all get it on Netflix or can y'all get it this? We got to have some type of funding, to get it there. Okay. And if you can also donate on there. There's also a donation button on there where you can do, like I said, our goal is to turn this into a movie. Okay. And so that's where the cost is at. But
only if I get to play Mike McGee. The only way it becomes, I shave and dye my hair. If I get to play Mike McGee in the movie, you filmmakers out there, that's the only way we going. I won't let them turn over the rights to anybody unless I get to play, or DJ. I got to play him or DJ. Let me know which one. We'll figure it out later on. I'm sorry. Go ahead. So that's where you want to take it to.
Yep. And from what we got from everybody that's supported us and that's got we got great customer service. So if you're having any trouble getting on there, you can call either one of us. We answer the phone quick. We'll walk you right through it step by step to how you can watch it. You can watch it on any mobile device, and anywhere you got a browser at. But that's where you can get it at www.canaanproductionsllc.com.
Right. And so, Mike McGee, I know you're talking about you maybe have to transition. If you got to go, I see you kind of checking the clock, but I want to let you give your shout out before you take off, and we'll wrap the show. But I want to allow you to say your closing words before we get you out of here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on here. The documentary, like I said, it was a dope documentary. I hope it's a movie too. Let me play. I'll play DJ. Let me play somebody. I'll play somebody too.
There you go. We already done got our spots in the film, right? Yep. You play DJ and I'll play you in the film, right. and then we'll fill everybody else in, right, and then get their spot. So I got you.
Yeah. So shout out the coaches, shout out everybody. G Tate, Mike, I appreciate y'all. One other person I wanted to shout out. The reason I came to Brookhaven was Coach Bruce Howard. I was a basketball player before I played football. But, everybody in the city, everybody knows who Bruce Howard is. Rest in peace. Definitely want to give him a shout out and appreciate everybody who was involved with the movie and, teammates, coaches, Ms. Hauser, everybody, man. I just appreciate y'all. And, we're going to have to do a reunion one day.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. And so, Mike, if you have to transition, Mike McGee, we get it and we understand. What I will share to, because we got a bunch of listeners who don't maybe know. Right? So this is like the teaser, because this is not the movie, but this is the teaser. Brookhaven wins the game 42-21 in the state championship, right? I mean, they rolled that game and had a special night. Like I shared, we could talk about so many people because there were so many individuals who played a part, who were special in the film, from former coaches, players, all the way to the individual student athletes themselves, and kind of mixed in everybody else from community and on down the line. You had just a number of phenomenal people there helping share this story. You guys have put together a very nice fabric and piece for Central Ohio. You started off, Gary, sharing about essentially how, there's a lot of football stories out there, but this one is unique and special. And for nothing else, it's unique and special because it's ours, right? I don't know if you all know But there's a gentleman here who also done a story about East High School. You know what I mean, and those things. And so we have these special moments here in Central Ohio that are unique to us. And I'm not saying other cities don't have their special moments, but Columbus, we're just a little bit different in these chances and things that kind of roll out. And what I love, I'll kind of end like this for me in my piece, and then I'll turn to you all and let you have a shout out in your thoughts. But one of the things that I really love that you showed in the film, there's a spot there, a segment there, where DJ Jones is sharing some parts about the season, and he's talking about the game against Walnut Ridge, and it just so happened that this is a game that he's talking about, right? And so what you show on a lot of these clips is after these really challenging games and these moments, what you show is the handshake line at the end of the game. Two groups of young people who went out there, participated in a hard-fought athletic event, and then they came back together at the end of the game and had a beautiful moment, which is what we're trying to get all young people into that space, right? Coaches and young people, hey, look, your young people should be able to look at their opponent and shake hands, and I appreciate you sharing that piece of it. That was a part for me that gave me the warm and fuzzies when I was watching it from an educator side, because I want young people to understand that these rivalry games that we talk about, the second word in rivalry is game. It's still a game, right? Mm-hmm. And we want kids to have fun and go out there and compete on the field. And then, and if you get beat up on that one day, go work a little bit harder and try to go out and compete and do better the next time. That's kind of my ending part. Mike, we'll turn to you. Share what you want to share as an ending piece about if you want to share any appreciation or thanks anyone or whatever pops to your mind. And Gary will turn to you, and then I'll do an outro, man, and we're out of here today.
Yeah, I just would like to say thanks to everyone who supported. It's a film that touches all ages, both genders, touches everyone. I mean, there's a piece of the story within the story for everyone. So that's my final comments, and I appreciate you having us today.
Certainly.
So, Doc, thank you for having us. First off, this is great, especially being a Columbus City League kid. Yeah. This is wonderful. People, like I said, hopefully Columbus, please support the doc. This is our story.
That's right.
I mean, we could eventually have somebody from Hollywood shooting the film. Right. At Brookhaven High School.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, it could be like that. Right. It really could be like that. Right. So this is our story. Right. But this story is, like I said, I'm down in Cincinnati. The inner city story, the same. That's right. The same thing a lot of things that we go through, the same thing them boys, the same way we feel about Brookhaven, they feel about Cape High School down in Cincinnati. Okay. The story is there. So we just ask for, continued support. Thank you for everybody that was a part of the documentary and everybody that didn't get a chance to be a part of the documentary. Certainly. We appreciate it because it's your story. Like I said, I'm a cowboy. Yeah. But I see myself in that story still. That's right. That's right. I'm going to ask you real quickly here. So is your wife from Cincinnati? She's not from Cincinnati. She's from Fairfield. She's from a suburb. Okay, and nothing wrong with being from the suburbs. I'm just trying to figure out how to get the Tates back up here to Columbus. So when she listens to the show here, just know that we want y'all to come on back up here. We need, every community needs good people supporting the kids and the young people in their community, and whether it's a suburb, whether it's a city, whether you're in rural someplace, that's kind of always been my catalyst. I want young people to have good folks around them, those that are helping guide them through this journey called life. You know what I mean? This is a quick run we all get in life, right? And so anybody that can help mentor you or guide you, to me, my hat is off to them. This film, The Haven, right? It is a guide for a lot of people. It is a guide for coaches. It's a guide for kids. It's a guide for parents. It's a guide for community people. There's something that everyone can grab a hold of and say, hey, look, here's maybe how I can do my part, right? You all were great guests today. I got to read an outro. I say this every time. I haven't memorized it. I don't plan on memorizing it, but it adds to the show, right? So I look down, I read it. That's all we have for today, everyone. We thank you for listening. I'm going to give you all three muches. Much respect to you all as our guest today. Phenomenal show. Appreciate you taking the time to share with us. Be sure to catch all future episodes on radio WCBE 90.5 FM. Also, catch us on Spotify, Apple, or the platform you prefer to listen to your favorite podcast. Additionally, follow us on Instagram at City League Sports 614. I am your host, Dr. Vince Clarno. This is City League Sports.